Welcome to Riders Live. I am your host, Riders. I have a very special guest today, Miss Bernadine Rideau. Please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, you said my name. I'm Bernadine Rideau. In the industry, a lot of people, barbers, know me as Miss B, and I was one of Rodis's instructors back in the day.
Yeah.
And and I am very happy and proud to say that along with him, I have seen many students go through and become very successful in the field of barbering.
Thank you. What's something that people don't know about you?
What's up that people don't know about me?
Yeah.
Some people may not know that I've made a significant move in the last 6 months. I no longer physically operate McCoy Barber College. It got to be just too much for me. In December, it was like a light bulb moment. It was just time to go. And I reached out to a former student that I knew was getting ready to open a school. I didn't know exactly when, but I knew he was going to be doing it. And I called him and talked to him, and he got very excited and said, well, look, let's see if we can work this out. And I said, okay. So he enabled the students that I still had at the school to transfer over to his new school and join the new students that he had. So it became a combination sort of McCoy Barber College, and the name of the school is official Kutz Academy.
Okay, that's what's up. So how long have you been teaching in the barber industry?
I started back teaching in the 80s after I returned from New York. I spent almost 7 years in New York. And when I came home, it was like, I'm gonna say mid-80s, I came back to the school. My dad retired in 86, and he enabled myself and my brother to take over his share of the school. And I stayed. My brother eventually moved on, but I stuck with it until just recently.
Okay, so how did you get into the barber beauty business for the people who may not know?
Oh, well, it's a family trade. My mother and father met as a result of the industry. Dad was in the Navy. Mom had come up from Mississippi, you know, that southern route that folks took back in the day. She came up and stayed with different families. And one of those families was the Felker family, who had Illinois Barber College. And at that time, she was still in high school. She went to Phillips High School. And the owner of the barber school had a son who was in the Navy. And one of his good friends was my dad. So my dad came home with him on one of his leaves, and they went to this wedding, and my dad saw my mom, and the rest is their story. Mm-hmm. So I lived in the back of a barbershop for the first, I'm gonna say 8 or 9 years of my life.
Is this before the Funtown commercial?
You know about that, huh?
Yeah.
The Funtown commercial came about in, I think that was the early 70s. I was friends with Richard Peggy, the old Dusty's DJ. Right. And he produced the spots for Funtown at that time. And I had started doing voiceover work. So we got together and we created Susie Funtown.
Okay. What's your thoughts on generational wealth? It's good that the school could be passed down to you and your brother. What's your thoughts on generational wealth?
That's a tricky one. Uh, it depends on where, I guess, the different generations' headspace is at, really. I've seen some families who have gone on and prospered. Um, I remember watching the Gardeners when they had their, was that Soft Sheen that was on 87th Street? I think it
Right.
was it Soft Sheen? It
Yeah.
was on 87th Street. Well, when the Gardeners had their business and they retired, their offspring didn't want to be in the hair business. So they bought the Apollo Theater over on 79th and Stony Island. And but unfortunately, that didn't work out for them either. So it depends. I mean, growing up in a family business can be tricky. You know, it's not always something that the offspring really want to do with their lives. In my case, mine and my brother's case, we didn't have an option. We had to go to barber school, whether we wanted to or not. We were told that even if you don't decide to do it, you'll always have something to fall back on. And that has been true in some cases. When I went to New York, I refused to take my tools because I wasn't gonna cut no hair when I was in New York. I was pursuing my theatrical career.
Did you find yourself fiending to go into some of them shops and be like, you ain't doing that right?
Oh no, I would never go in a shop and say that to somebody. However, there was a student who did not pass his state board exam, and he should have. And the shop he was in was run by a former student, and most of the barbers went to McCoy. So I did go up in there on a Saturday morning and slap him upside his head.
Okay. Roughly, how many licensed barbers do you think you're responsible for putting out into the community?
Oh God, I'd say some hundreds, I guess. I mean, between the middle 80s and what is this, 2021, 22? It's probably in the hundreds.
Okay. Hey, I'm proud to be part of the hundreds.
Me too.
So at what point did you decide that you wanted to be a barber? I know it was forced on you, but at what point did you say, you know what, no resistance, I'm going to embrace this trade?
I'm not sure if I ever reached that point where I truly embraced it. Now, what I did embrace was, I think, the teaching aspect of it, more so than I did. I was never good for cutting in a shop.
Okay.
I never stayed in a shop very long. I think the longest I stayed in a shop may have been with my mother in the beginning. But teaching was a different kind of satisfaction for me. Preparing, especially the younger students that started coming in the mid 80s, they were a whole different breed that particularly, my parents, they weren't ready for them. We all kind of, I was ready for them in a different way. I was Miss B. I had the stick.
You was more relatable.
Okay, if you say so. I didn't always feel that way.
Okay. When did you know that you had the passion for teaching?
I think the moment that when the Proud Lady was running, which was the manufacturers expo, Black Expo that they had, and it went on for like 25 years. One of our former students, she helped to initiate the barber competition, which is where I really believe the whole idea of barber competitions really grew from, because she did it for the professionals and she got the students involved, which was something that had never been done before.
Right.
And when our students started going, and I started watching them up against other students. And when we started winning, I was like, okay, that's where my love kicked in, because it was very rewarding for me to see young people compete like that. And especially for some of them, they had never done anything like that. I remember one year there was one young man, he never owned a suit, but he needed a suit for the competition. So he got himself a suit and a pair of shoes, and he was walking around like a peacock. So it opened their eyes.
He was on the stage.
Yes, and you had a certain requirement that you had to maintain for the proud lady. You couldn't just go compete in some jeans and gym shoes. You had to look like a professional when you went and competed with the proud lady.
Okay, so speaking of requirements, what are some of the requirements for being a licensed barber?
Well, they haven't changed that much. You still need 1,500 hours. And what has happened that I'm not happy about is cosmetology has creeped into our profession. Now you can go to barber school in a cosmetology school. And my concern is that they are trying to ultimately bring about one license. And I tell the students, I said, please learn how to use your razor, because that's the only thing that separates you from a cosmetologist. And if they get that, then you're going to be doing hair. And most barbers do not want to do hair.
Facts. Your hair look nice, by the way, Miss B.
Well, thank you, dear. I do have a little skill. I put that iron on there, so it,
Shirley
I'd look
curls right there. But for y'all who can't see right now, Miss B got the Shirley temples rocking.
Hey.
So how can someone obtain an instructor's license?
Well, for one thing, you got to have your barber's license. Once you have your barber's license, for me, I always wanted a student to work in the field for at least a year before they came back to go for their instructor's license, because I felt that they need to have some experience outside of school, so they would have some knowledge when they came back to try and teach. But for teaching, you need, if someone were to come directly out of barber school and go to be an instructor, you have to do 1,000 hours. If you have had your license for 3 years, you only have to do 500 hours. So I would tell a student, look, go and work outside for a year. And then if you still want to become an instructor, come back, because you're not going to be going full time. So it's going to take you a minute. So by the time you get ready to go take that test, you will be close to your 3 years.
That makes sense. Good sense. So at what point would you advise a barber to pursue their own shop?
I've been talking with the students that we have now, and a couple of them, they want to get right into it when they get out of school. I have always believed that you should go and work in a shop. If that's something you want to do, go work in a shop, observe and study and ask questions, so that you know exactly what it is you're going to need when you want to step out into that venture on your own. Going into it straight out of school, unless, an extreme example nowadays is that you got a lot of guys that they know how to cut hair. They've been cutting hair for a while, and for them opening up a shop might be different than for someone who had never cut hair before and doesn't have a following.
Right. So where is the school located for people who might want to pursue a barber career, so we could plug your school and the new location so we could get more licensed barbers in the community?
Well, right now, Miss B is located at Official Kutz Academy, which is 11516 South Pulaski Road in Alsip. and its director is a young man's name is Yahia Jabber. And for those who are social media conscious, his Instagram and everything is Mr. Official. People that follow a lot, he's recognized for his beard work in particular, and using his razor. Yeah, you should come see him.
I know, hey, that razor make you money. So where can people
Yeah.
follow you on social media, Miss B?
Oh, child, please. I mean, there are posts that come up with the Academy page and Mr. Official. They caught me stropping a razor one day because I had to do a head shave and a face shave. And I pulled out my conventional razor. They don't know nothing about that.
They don't know nothing about that.
I pulled out my conventional razor and I started stropping. It was like, ooh, Miss B. So, Adam, he showed me the post, and it had over 1,000 views. I went, oh, look at me.
I saw
I
that.
can be a social
I
media
actually
person.
saw that reel. I saw that reel of you.
Okay.
Look at Miss B showing out.
Okay.
So,
and WGN just did something on the school not too long ago. It wasn't part of their regular news program. I guess they have like a internet thing.
okay.
I'm not exactly sure, like WGN.com, something like that. But it was the longer story. Instead of it being like a 2-minute story on the news, it was a longer piece. It was real nice.
Okay. So if there's any parents out there that might be interested in sending their children to barber school, what's the earliest age requirement?
Well, the state says 16, but I don't always suggest that someone comes at 16. For me, you're probably still in high school. And if you're still in high school, enjoy your high school. I mean, it may not be like it was when I was in high school, but I was really upset when I had to go to barber school after school, the end of my junior year, because we had senior award days back in the day. And you would get dressed so that you could prance across the stage and get these awards. Well, by me having to go to barber school, that limited how many times I was going to get to strut across the stage. Right. So, but I usually, if it's usually fellas that are, if they're going to come that young, and usually they're involved with sports. And if they're involved with sports, that's an after school program. So I don't really strongly suggest that age. Now, sometimes I have had a few students in the past that would come at the end of their junior year after school, it's summertime. And then when they went back to school, if they had a shorter program for their senior year, they could get in some part-time hours. But you have to be and you know what the environment is like. You have to be of a certain maturity level in order to deal in that environment. And let's face it, you guys were not always the best examples for somebody around 16.
No. You're right about that, Miss B. So how much is barber school, and is there any financial aid available?
Well, at the school I'm with, he does not have financial aid yet because he's a new school.
Okay.
He has to be operating for a year. And so that's what he's doing now. I mean, we're at 6 months now. So a year will be by in no time. And what he does is, if someone is interested in attending, go to the website, officialkutzacademy.com, and he has a form that he wants you to fill out. Now, once you submit that form, he looks at them every day, and he calls you back to set up an appointment for you to come in so that you can discuss all the ins and outs of what you need.
Okay. So just say if someone was 16 and their parent wanted them to be enrolled in barber school, would the parent have to come to the interview with the child? Or
Oh, for sure, for
Okay.
sure, because they're not old enough to sign a contract or anything like that. And for me, when I was doing it, I always had to interview the student and the parent to see, what kind of chemistry we might be talking about. I mean, there have been some occasions where these weren't high school students and the mama was coming in with them, and that didn't always work out so well.
Neck rolling. Neck rolling. Eye swollen. Okay. What is your take on traditional schools versus trade schools?
Oh, I mean, there is a place for everyone, and everyone, especially in this day and age, is not cut out for traditional college or university life. Especially in our community, unfortunately, there isn't enough, to me, in the high school life to really encourage young people to pursue college or university life, unless they are at a particular school, and that's what they're concentrating on. But for most of your general high schools, some of them don't even care. I mean, it's amazing, the students that I've gotten that have only been out of school for a couple of years. They have no study habits. They have no idea of what it is to be on time for anything. They just willy-nilly. So it depends on where you go and where your mindset is and who's raising you.
Facts, Miss B, facts. So if anybody is listening and thinking about attending official Kutz Academy, make sure that you on your A game. Make sure that you're serious, because you could get back a whole lot of what you put in is what you get back, and you have to.
That's right.
Is there anything you want to leave with the listeners of Rideau Live, Miss B? I'm so happy to have you on my show.
Well, something that I have had to do in this transition is, that Miss B is a no guard cutting sister. And unfortunately, in my new environment, these folks use a lot of guards. So what I have been doing is I've been watching, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be a full guard girl, but I'm learning what they're using to get the certain effects that they're trying to get, because their haircut styles are even different from what we do. If you look at all those Instagram pictures for haircuts and stuff, they got this real tight fade weight thing going on. And riders, they be putting lines all in their head. Now, you know how I am about a line.
all you see is weight lines. Like I was talking to Steven. He sent Mr. Wallace, who sit next to me. And we was on a Instagram live with some other barbers, and we were saying that blades only. If you can't get out of a cut, you can't do the cut.
That's right. I've got a few of those students over there that have started picking up the detachables. Now he doesn't have a detachable with his kit. If you want a detachable clipper, you're gonna have to get it on your own. So that's, and they do disposable razors. So I'm the traditionalist over here in a world of I don't know what would you call this world I'm in. I'm in a
millennials.
A millennial world. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm caught in the millennial world.
So thank you for listening to Riders Live. Thank you, Miss B. You could come back anytime you want to promote anything. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything you've done for the barber game, and keep doing it.
All right, dear. You take care of yourself and stay well and blessed.
Thank you.